Magandang gabi, Pilipinas. Current events, flash updates, reliable source. I'm Zachary Z.
I'm Andrea Tipsay.
Fresh news and topics, only here at TCWD News. A look at today's people's lives and shelter. We will be tackling about the overgrown population and its effect, the crisis and the only standing.
Shanghai will only allow 800,000 more to live there. Our reporter Espiritu will take us to a glimpse on the livelihood of China, the country with the largest population.
Having a stay or live in Shanghai, China? Planning to have the dorm to an apartment or dorm? Be fast and furious.
Alright, can you enlighten us what is the article all about, Ban?
Yes, Andrea. Shanghai, China will only allow 25 million people to live permanently by the next few years.
About the growing population around Shanghai, why is the city limiting the total population for only 25 million people? Can you share to us about the updates, Van?
Yes, Zachary. As planned by the Chinese economic hub, because the current population is approximately at 24 million as of today, overpopulation arises as the city will having lack of space, livelihood, and an imbalance if compressed citizens will take place in Shanghai alone.
Thank you for your response. I would also like to raise a concern regarding to what will be the connection of the news in Shanghai, China to the global population.
Well, yes, Andrea. Speaking of the coverage of the news of Shanghai's implication to global population spreads awareness, not just the happenings in China, but rather all over the globe, to be alert in possibilities that may happen in the near future on some countries.
Copy that, Van. Is it reasonable to the future citizens that China's plan to limit the population in Shanghai for the city livelihood and land made it accessible for future development reasons?
Yes, Zachary. For the citizens, it's a so-called home, a place, a city they dream of living, and for easier access to their needs and wants. They do believe that those three are needed to make a person live. Yet, overpopulation is one of the major problems around the world, and specifically in China. China's way to development is for safety measures. Limit count on the given city that can handle the approximate people, breathable air, and balanced distribution of goods and services. And it may suggest that there are other places in China that can be livable as well, like Shanghai. Still, it depends on the people's views as well as for the city and countries too.
Thank you, Ban. Last question. Is it possible that the current situation in Shanghai, China will experience the same scenario from here in the Philippines? Can you tell us about it?
Yes, Andrea. There are people who do believe that there is a possibility. Placed in the National Capital Region or NCR, Manila has a lot of people living there. Rich, middle class, and the poor. As we seen on news, the Philippines do have an increasing number of population not just in cities, but a possibility in rural areas too. We should be alarmed on what is happening around us.
Thank you, Van, for the report. Up next, Benjamin Ibañez. The second reporter will be discussing about the demographic transition, 3 centuries of fundamental change. Take it away.
The cycle of life repeats itself every single day, every hour, every second, days and nights. But upon observing the long term of the decline of the rates of birth and death, the demographic transition, it has a vital role in the changes of age distribution of a population. Speaking of gender distribution and popular age rates, these are the main elements that affects the daily life of everyone. Migrations, mortality and deaths, fertility, natural disasters, political events, and such are some reasons behind the demographic transitions. Began in 1800 in Europe and spread around the world and should be completed by the target year 2100, in the near future, there may be a higher chance that we humans will experience the worst decline of every living in this world. In today's society, longevity, fertility problems, and shelter and safety, education, a better health development, and other necessities are the major problems that cause the decline of demographic transition. For background, in some countries like China and India, they prefer male children to continue the booming family tree. Still, in most people have the higher chance of females internationally. This also affects not just on child preferences, but a sense of view of life in terms of religions, politics, and society itself. Still, it was continuous research about this topic that is up until today's issue. This is Benjamin Ibañez reporting the highlights of the demographic transition.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, for reporting behind the abstract of the demographic transition. Up next, we have Dorian Joseph Blanco to discuss mortality declines.
Mortality decline states that people will live longer. That is explained by several epidemiological theories through observations such as science and technology, industrialization, and comparing those to demographic theories. On the other hand, it may contradict the first statement. Mortality decline states and changes through the death compositions shifting away from pestilence and forms, such as pandemic times and man-made diseases. But sadly, old people experience cardiovascular diseases, while on the other hand, newborn infants die due to low height, also known as unhealthy at birth, since 1960, and the expectancy of infants growing and surviving until the age of 65 marks its disappearance. Aside from expectations from living no matter old or young, smoking kills more than 50% of people. Life is short, however, there is a decline in mortality. Years pass by, mortality age becomes lesser and lesser as death comes up. For the first half of the century, infectious diseases such as pneumonia and influenza received 32% of death rates in 1900s. During the years 1940s up to 1960s, medical takes the death rate continuously up, especially the sulfa drugs, which was discovered in 1935, penicillin and other drugs. Up until today, the endless problem of mortality declining keeps its cycle. Many people will live, yet one or more will sadly pass away. I am Dorian Joseph Blanco, reporting the mortality decline.
Thanks, Dorian, for keeping us aware behind the mortality decline. Next, we have Mariane Miranda, who will be reporting fertility transition.
I'm Mariane and I'll be reporting fertility transition. Due to perinatal and maternal mortality, lack of education, and poorly sourced countries are some effects behind the lower rates of birth. Other situations like from the abortion, social structure, economic status, religion-based beliefs, and urbanizations gives also the cause behind reduction of fertilization. Mortality rates as low just like the decrease of birth control. In 1952, a family globally contains about 5 children. Nowadays, a family has only 3 or less children, or a single child or none. In the last 50 years, fertility dropped swiftly. Some theories are telling that factors like the higher cost of taking care and raising a child, the lower chance of mortality of a child, and women's empowerment that includes the education and workforce takes due the risk of the fertility.
Thank you, Mariane, for the report. On the fifth news, we'll have population growths reported by Niño Padilla. Let's hear it from Niño.
Good day to all, and I will be presenting population growth. Every day, many people are welcoming themselves to a new world, and it is called Earth. Population growth can be seen in growing numbers of species like plants, animals, and us, humans. As time goes by, there's a numerous amount of increase of population. Surely, thus inevitable. However, nowadays, the population blooms according to United Nations last November 15, 2022. There are 8 billion people living around the world. UN estimated that there is 0.88% increase on population growth from 2022. 65,810,005 people increased that took a total of 7,975,105,156 people, and 0.83% last 2021 with 7,295,151 people. Population growth started at the 18th century, but it declines in 20th century. However, the population growth varies on its increase or the decrease depending on the country and or region, and other issues facing globally. 8 billion people are the total population last 2022, and it was predicted that by 2080, more than 10 billion people will live until the century ends. Still, humanity is decreasing until today. Currently, lower rate of mortality and fertility are the main problems. What will be the future? We'll be seeing it very soon.
Thank you very much, Niño.
The last reporter will be led by Ballesteros, titled as Some Consequences of the Demographic Transition.
A large impact strikes on the demographic transition. Lower fertility rate, higher decline of mortality rate, large death growth on diseases and other issues, and several natural reasons that affects the environment of a person. Birth and death, marriage and divorce or separation, migration, and other situations also affect the changes of demographic transition. The leading issue, which is health, also compromises the demographic transition. On the other side, if lower amount of population decreases, there is a higher chance of an increased amount of more labor force, reduction of dilution of capital and land stock, and increased investment too.
Thanks for the report, Je, and that will be the ending of the report. I'm Andrea Tipsay.
I'm Zachary.
This is TCWD News.